Hi guys, welcome back to Top Stitch Tailoring Studio, formerly known as Ugampua Fashions, the channel that equips fashion students and those who wish to take their career in the fashion industry with the legacy of Be Aware modes that fashion ancestors used. And through this legacy, you as a fashion student will be able to develop your own patterns using concepts of past civilization method like draping, pattern drafting, as well as sketching and illustration. So ladies and gentlemen, in today's video we are making a continuation of our theory calculations of a coat stroke a blazer jacket, and we are going to look at part 2, and that is the front part. So ladies and gentlemen, our part 2 is divided into segments or steps, and we are going to concentrate on horizontal measurement placement. Previously, we looked at the back part, the horizontal measurement placement, as well as the vertical measurement placement. So, ladies and gentlemen, in our step 1, we are going to begin with line E. Remember, these horizontal measurements, we're going to get our center line, center front line. That's where all measurements will be originating from. So in line E, we're going to get hip measurements divided by 4 plus 0.5. This 0.5 is always seam allowance. That is the case study of this table of ours. You remember this table of our measurements of 29 full lengths, XB 16, chest 36, belly 34, then the hip 37, as well as the sleeve length of 24 inches. So we are going still to be using this reference table of ours to calculate the front part. So that is 36 divided by 4 plus 0.5, giving us 9.5 inches. These measurements begin from center front inwards. That's where you're going to be measuring these measurements. Then in line D, that's step number 2, you're going to divide the hip measurements plus 0.5, that is 36 divided by 4 plus 0.5, giving us 9.5 inches. As you can look closely, line D and E are almost the same, but in line E afterwards we're going to make some shapings, of which the shapings I will show you how to do the shapings in the practical part. Then after you've done that, you're going to draw line E connecting it to line D with a straight line. Then after, we are going to line H, of which that is the across the front. As I explained to you in the previous video, that getting this line H across the front, you're going to get chest measurements divided by 16. Why do I give you chest measurements? I give you chest measurement because they vary. Like now in this case study of mine, I'm using 36 inches divided by 16, but you may find you've measured a client, he has 40, 30, 20, 50. So you get that measurement, that the measurement of your client, then you divide with this figure that I'm giving you. This is the figure that you should be always dividing with the chest measurement, giving you the results. That is the answer. So that is 36 divided by 16, giving me 2.25 inches. That is 2.25 inches. Then you measure upwards from line C, where you're going to measure your across the front, and then you place this vertical placement. Then after that, we are going to step number 3, that's the neck. You're going to go to line A. This line A, you're going to measure the neck width is from the center front should be chest measurements divided by 8. That is 36 divided by 8, giving us 4.5 inches from the center front. Then the neckline depths, that is from line A coming down, where 4.5 ends inwards, you mark down the chest measurement divided by 24. That's 36 divided by 24, giving us 1.5 inches downwards. Then the neck openings. Now here the neck opening, you're going back to the center front line here. Then you measure chest measurements, divide by 12. That is 36 divided by 12, giving us 3 inches. From line A, you mark downwards 3 inches from the center front line. From this center front line. Then the front line shaping. Remember, our bodies are never straight. As I always tell you, we have this curving part of ours. So to bring that beautiful silhouette of our body, we always have to place in some calculations. So for the neck, I think the standard one, you can come in by a 1/4 inch. That's 0.25 inches. You come in by that. Then lapel, don't forget the lapel breakpoint. Since we are dealing with coats or leather jackets, there is this lapel breakpoint. So you're going to move in 3 and a 1/4 inches. That is 0.75 inches. You move inwards. That's all with the neck. And now we're going to step number 4. Step number 4, we're going to go to line C. This is a bit critical, but I will try to explain to you in a slow way so that you can understand. But if you fail to understand the theory part, still never lose hope. We are going to make a practical part. We're going to cut a pattern out of these very measurements using the very calculations, so you will not get lost. So first master the theory part, and then when we reach to the practical part, it is just a walkover to you. So now step number 4, that's the chest line. We're going to get the chest measurements, divide by 4. That's point number 1. Then point number 2, you mark chest measurements, divide by 24 outwards still. That is 36 divided by 24, giving us 1.5 inches. Then inwards from the center, from the chest measurement, divide by 4. From this point, you mark inwards the chest measurements, divide by 48. That is 36 divided by 48, giving us 3/4. Giving us 3/4. Now there you coming inwards. Now this inwards, this 3/4 here, this is where you across the front measurements. This is where you get it from. If you actually, there is no need of you measuring the customer across the back, across the front, across the back. These are the standard calculations. You just get the chest measurements, divide by 4, minus chest measurements, divide by 48, giving you the across the front. That's for step number 4. Step number 5, we're going to look at the hip pocket and the first button placement. Some of you might be asking yourselves, how do you locate the first button? So here is a table, or a simplified table, of how you can locate the first button, the second button, and the rest of the buttons. So but for this case, for this tutorial, we have only, I'm making a video of a 2-button leather coat, of which you coming to line E. Line E, now the calculations of getting the first button, you will go line E. You mark full length plus 0.5 divide by 3 inches. Divide by 3. That is 29.5 divided by 3, giving us 9.8 inches. Then you mark it upwards from line E. Where 9.8 end, that's where you're going to locate your first button. Then the second button, from the first button you will mark 4 inches upwards. That's for the second button. Then lapel break point. Remember the upper, we have the lapel break point from the up and around the neck. Then we have the lapel break point from the bottom, like the way you see in this diagram. You're going to go up from the second button 0.5 inches. That is all with the lapel breakpoint. As far as, that's all for the step number 5. And now we are looking at step number 6. So guys, if you see this video is too helpful, please share, like, subscribe to my channel, and if there is anything that I'm leaving out, just leave a comment in the comment section down below. I'll read and I give you back the replies. So now we are continuing with our step number 6. Step number 6, now from line C, we are going to, I mean, from line C, that's the chest pockets. How do you locate the chest pocket? So you come to line C. From across the front, you mark 2 inches from this point inwards, and the pocket width is, you mark 4 inches. That's the pocket width. Then the pocket height is 1 inch. Then the pocket slant is 0.75 inches. But this pocket slant can vary. I always love going with 0.75 because of it is beautiful slant. You know, you can go with 1 inch and you can go with a half inch. It depends on your customer's preference. But me, I always use 0.75 and I've not got any problem with it. So you can also still adopt 0.75 slant of your chest pocket. In step number 7, we're going to look at the chest and the waist dart. How do you locate these darts? So these darts, you're going to come to line C, that's the chest line. You measure 2 inches below. Then after measuring 2 inches below, you come to line D. You mark 1.5 inches as I'm showing you in this diagram. You mark 1.5 inches, that's the dart allowance. Then for your pocket flap extension, you're going to mark 0.75 inches, that's a flap extension. Then flap height should be 2.5 inches. Step number 8, that's the loose allowance. Remember all those calculations, we have been dealing on tight calculations, so now your coat needs loose allowance. Me, I always go with the loose allowance of 3 inches, and this loose allowance, you're including it in line E, C, and D. Remember, after you've measured from your center front here, from this center front, you mark 3 inches in line D, line C, line E. Then from where these 3 inches end, that's where you begin inserting now the measurements of the side panel. Now the measurements of the side panel, you're going to go to line E. Line E, you're going to get hip measurements divided by 2. Now we are dealing with the side panel, how to get this side panel. You're going to go to line E, you get hip measurements divided by 2 minus hip measurements divided by 6. Case study of our table, the hip is 37 divided by 2 minus 37 divided by 6. That is 18 plus 5, that's 18.5 inches plus. Remember to always add seam allowance in every calculations of your cloth. You know, your fashion designers, you know what the importance of a seam allowance is. So that will give us 18.5 plus 0.5 inches minus 6.1 inches. That will be the calculation of your side panel. Mostly you're going to grasp this part when we are on the practical part, but in this theory, let me just bring it in a simplified way for you to understand how things are done. Now after that, you're going to still line E, the side vent. That's step number 10. Our side vent, like the way it was in the back, the length remains the same, 7 inches. The width is 1.5 inches. Then you mark upwards from line E. So ladies and gentlemen, I think that's what I had for you in the theory part. Wait for the practical part, and that's where you will really understand everything. But first, watch this theory part repeatedly, not until you perfect, so that when we reach on the practical part, you know each and every calculation and you understand the terms that are used in coat creation. I hope this video has been helpful to you. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up, like, share, and don't forget to comment. I would wish to see you in our practical part. Bye. Shalom.